Raymond Arroyo is absolutely one of my favorite people in broadcasting. You know the word authentic? This guy's the real deal. He's got a new book out. I've told you for years about his children's books and at Christmas time, and I can't wait to read about Thomas Alva Edison. Raymond Arroyo, what a pleasure it is to see you
Mike,
in person.
I love being on the show, but it's so great to be here one-on-one. And look, I'm going to return the favor. I was just telling somebody, there are so few professional broadcasters who understand their audience and respects them enough to move with the news and improvise around it. You do that, as few can.
Well,
so
that's
thank you, and of course, Laura sends her love.
Oh, I love all of you guys. And listen, there's a lot of challenges we're all facing.
Oh yeah,
weird decisions in the broadcast world, weird decisions in the political space.
You don't say.
No, anything going on? Anything going on at Fox News? It's fun though to kind of take in all the intrigue. Today's a big day. We're going to talk politically. I got a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Again, I want to find out how you came about writing a book about Thomas Alva Edison. Seems a little out of your wheelhouse, but I'll bet you nailed it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about DeSantis Day here in Florida, 6 p.m., Twitter announcement. We're talking about some of the political figures to the left. Ron DeSantis and Elon Musk are a couple of creatures from a horror movie.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Vanity Fair headline about today's announcement?
I did see that.
All right, let me read it so that you have an idea.
Yeah.
Vanity Fair, and you think if you're watching me watching this on the Salem News Channel, here's the Vanity Fair headline. This is not Babylon Bee, Ray.
I know, sadly.
Ron DeSantis will formally announce his 2024 bid with Elon Musk because apparently the KKK's David Duke wasn't available. Ray, let's be real. Media's lost its mind.
Well, it's interesting. When Ron DeSantis' name was first floated, people said, oh, wait, this will clear the palate. Donald Trump, everybody attacked Donald Trump. They called him a racist and a misogynist, and he was a sex abuser, and he was everything horrible. But if we get a new face, a younger face, that will change. The guy hasn't even announced his presidency. They've already got him in a hood. I mean, that's where we are. It's so absurd, Mike.
It's crazy.
But This is the moment we're in. This is the political and media environment, and sadly, and regretfully, all of these media organizations have assumed party allegiance against their audience.
Right.
This is the dangerous. I worked for Bob Novak back in the day.
Sure.
Bob Novak was a Democrat who later became a Republican. But if you read Bob's columns, they never moved, Mike.
Right.
They were the same. He was critical and cynical and questioning of everyone.
Right.
Whether that was the Bush administration or the Obama administration or the Clinton administration, it didn't matter. He was the advocate for his audience. We're here to ask questions.
Right.
We're here to challenge authority.
Right.
And that means whoever runs against Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump and Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis or whoever else is in the Republican Party. That is our job. We're here for the people. But when you see yellow journalism like that, where they're trying to brand someone as a Klansman with absolutely no evidence at all. I mean, if you want to make the Klan connection, Joe Biden was pretty close to Robert Byrd. I remember those days. I covered the Senate when they were walking around hand in hand and having dinner in the Senate mess hall.
Right.
So this is a very dangerous path we're down. One hopes this would stop. I don't think it will.
I don't know. I don't know
the worst campaign of our lives.
But in the political realm, Tim Scott this week does a big campaign announcement. He's going to run. He's running, and his message is one of unity.
Right.
His one is we ought to love this country. We ought to respect this country. News Nation, one of your competitors, a cable news operation, they're seemingly trying to. I mean, Cuomo has reinvented himself. I'm going to be Mr. Down the Middle here for a change.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Does that have legs, Ray?
Well, look, I think increasingly people are frustrated. They're frustrated with the coverage. They feel they're being spun, and information is kept from them.
Yeah.
I mean, part of what we do, part of what Laura does, part of what I do, you try to find stories that touch people's lives, are important to them, that they haven't heard before.
Right.
There is, in a 24-hour news grind, I don't call it a cycle, I call it a grind.
It is.
It's the same story, run around the wheel. You've got to find new angles and new people and perspectives that we haven't heard. And look, anybody who can do that, I'm all for. And then let the best man win. Because then the public wins.
Then we all win. Millions of people tune in to see Seen and Unseen with Laura, and you appear regularly. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit. I've known Laura for years, back when she was raised. No. But this is a cool story because your friendship with her is many, many years long. She obviously adores you. I've known Laura for 25 years. I mean, back back when she was a radio
Right.
host, and we were quasi competitors
Yeah.
in that space. And
I remember.
but she was always kind, and I've always respected her enormously. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Laura.
Well, I've known Laura for more than 20 years. I went on her radio show. That's how we first met.
Wow.
I was talking about a book. I did one segment, and it shows, Mike, and I've always felt this, in my background in the theater, you can't create chemistry. You only can recognize chemistry.
Right.
And we did the show that first day. I did a 10-minute block. She went to break. I started collecting my things. She said, why don't you stay around? We'll stay
here
for another segment.
Nice.
And I said, what are we going to talk about? She said, well, let's talk about news. I said, okay. I stayed through the next segment, stayed through the half hour and the next hour of the
Wow.
show. And then I kept coming back occasionally, and we kind of found our rhythm.
Right.
But the initial spark, that initial connection, I mean, we always had this kind of brother-sister shtick, and I could rib her where others found it harder. And she
Because she can be prickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, Laura's tough. Laura's tough.
Tough cookie.
And brilliant.
Sure she
Hell of
is.
a lot smarter than I am. But I could take a shot, and she knew it was gentle and in love, and she wouldn't strike back, or she would strike back in a funny way.
Sure.
But that, you can't fake that.
Right,
it's
right.
just there.
It's there or
and
not.
we just brought it to television.
You mentioned your theater background. Now, I'm not going to brag here, but I mean, we both have sort of theater backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm sort of a thespian and have done a number of roles over the years and invested.
It shows.
I have a Tony Award on my mantle, thank you very much, because
What?
I invested in the musical Pippin.
Oh,
and
my
Pippin
gosh.
won Best Musical.
With Ben Vereen and,
well,
yeah,
that was
John
the original, but
Rubinstein.
then it came back, with a whole new version, and it was a
Wow.
revival, and I was one of the, and I got a Tony. And so on my mantle,
How do you like that?
Someday
I saw that production with Patina Miller,
Patina
right?
Miller and Matthew James Thomas,
Yeah.
who's Pippin, who's become a good friend of mine.
Right.
And, his
Andrea
girlfriend.
Martin. I saw that production. It was
Which
great.
was on the trapeze.
Oh, yeah.
Raymond Arroyo's with us. Of course, Fox News contributor. He's got a new book, The Unexpected Light of Thomas Alva Edison. This has got to be a holiday class, because you're a holiday book guy.
Well, normally, but this is a series I'm doing for HarperCollins, Mike, and it's so important. We call them turnabout tales. Every one of us has a turnabout tale in our life, a moment of crisis where a decision is made and all of history turns.
Right.
In this case, young Edison, at 8 years old, he's thrown out of school.
Right.
The schoolmaster says he's addle-brained and cannot be taught. His mother takes him back to school. She says he's got more intelligence and curiosity than you'll ever have. She takes him home and homeschools him.
Wow.
How Thomas Edison isn't the patron saint of homeschooling, I'll never understand.
Wow.
That is the last formal training he receives in his life, Mike. He is self-taught. His mother teaches him to read deeply. She feeds him the classics and electric and scientific compendiums. He tinkers. This is the key to her approach to education. And late in life, this is how I started on this journey. I found a quote, an interview with Edison, where at 80-something years old, he says, "My mother was the making of me. She allowed me to follow my bent, and her faith and devotion in me at a particular moment in my life allowed me to become an inventor." Wow. And I said, wait a minute, what's the moment in the life? Who's this mama? And let's back engineer this. I found this incredible story, and I captured it for families in The Unexpected Light of Thomas Alva Edison. And Abe Lincoln's youngest son, Tad Lincoln, is next in October, whom people know very little about, but Tad is the reason we do a national holiday tradition every year, and Tad Lincoln is inextricably tied and partly responsible for Thanksgiving, which I'll explain in the book. It's a great, beautiful story of a father and son.
RaymondArroyo.com to order Raymond's new book. Of course, wherever books are sold, you're going to want to get The Unexpected Light of Thomas Alva Edison. This guy has a light of his own right, Raymond Arroyo, RaymondArroyo.com. In closing, Ray, let's talk about this atmosphere of the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. Many of us believe there's spiritual warfare right now. There's a cultural battle. There is good versus evil. We're seeing it every day, and I think more and more Americans are starting to see that. However, a poll comes out this week that up to 50% of Americans now don't acknowledge the existence of God.
Yeah.
People are turning away from church. They're turning away from their faith. How do we get it back?
Well, Mike, part of this is I'm not, we've seen the rise of the so-called nons. Well, there was a time when no one asked if you were, they just asked, are you Catholic, are you Protestant, are you evangelical, are you Muslim, or are you Jewish? Those were the questions.
That was it.
Now it's, are you non? Well, everybody, particularly young people, they're disgruntled with leadership, they're unhappy with spiritual leadership, or they're not drawn to it. They're not in the place where they recognize it yet.
Right.
I think we're all wired for God. You can deny God all you want. He's not going to deny you. And he'll make you aware of his presence very soon. Stay tuned, boys and girls. That's what I always tell my kids. Stay tuned. He'll wake you up. Call me when he does. I'll be here, and so will God. So we need a spiritual renewal of some sort. The family. If we lose the family, that is the atom of society, Mike. If we lose the family, we lose everything. It's part of why I'm writing for families now. We have to somehow revive our great history, remind people of the greatness of America, and that is predicated on faith, patriotism, and family life. You lose that, you lose it all, and it doesn't matter who's running at the top of your ticket, frankly.
See why he's one of my favorite people in the world. Raymond Arroyo. Get his book, RaymondArroyo.com. Raymond, it's great to see you in person.
Great to see you, Mike, as always. Thank you. An honor to be with you always.
It's an honor to have you as well, and we'll get you back to talk about Tad Lincoln.
You bet. It'll be fun.